Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. Today, we're talking about waterfowl, in particular ducks, a group of birds that is very well known worldwide. I know you guys are inherently familiar with waterfowl, birds that live in the water. They characterized by pretty long necks, the good sized bodies, and lots of different habits. Of course, a lot of them are popular game birds and food items around the world, but they're made up of three major groups. And we're going to zero it down onto the just one of those. So the swans, the geese, which is an Egyptian goose, which is you guys in Florida may know what they're familiar with those, but most of you in North America don't know the Egyptian goose, but they have established down there in Florida. And the ducks. So the ducks are probably the most well known of all those the birds, and that's who we're going to zero in today. Zero in and all, especially on the two major types of ducks that we have. The most famous duck in the world, at least for North America, has to be the mallard. The green head and the quack 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 sound that they're so known for. And right now, at Los Bluffs National Wildlife Refuge, about an hour and a half north of Kansas City, we have about 80,000 mallards on the refuge right now. So they are known for their large numbers. They become domesticated. People keep them on ponds. They interbreed with domestic geese. So mallards are the most widely known duck. So I thought I'd start with him and his type of duck, because we're not going to go try to cover all the ducks. That would be a very long program. What I'm going to talk about are the two major groups. And the mallard is the representative of the dabblers. The dabblers are the ducks that tip, if you will, to feed. They're characterized by their legs being very centered, and that's why this picture is first. It shows their ability to walk and waddle on land and walk around, and they graze on the grass and things, because the dabblers are pretty much vegetation eaters. Now they do eat some insects and things, but for the most part, they are vegetation eaters. That's why this muddy bill is a great capture, because they tip up in the air with their butts in the air and their beaks down, and they're pulling up vegetation from in the water, and of course they'll do it on land as well. But this muddy bill illustrates that from them pulling up vegetation. And there are several members of the group that may be familiar to you. The Gadwall, which I think is one of the most beautiful ducks, are about the same size as a mallard. And the northern shoveler, which is a very well-known, duck hunters call them spoonbills, for that very large bill that they can sift through the water and filter out and get aquatic insects, and also pull up vegetation with that big bill. But as I said, they are famous for their tipping. And yes, I know these are swans, but this is the best picture I had of that tipping activity. They bottoms up, as they said in the Disney movie. And their long necks are stretched down and pulling up vegetation, or maybe grabbing an aquatic insect, or maybe even an aquatic mollusk or something, a little clam off the bottom. But they're very famous for that, and then the large variety of them. And they can nest in lots of different places. Most of them nest up on land, on dry land, and they don't have to be too close to the water. And some of those the dabbling ducks actually are cavity nesters, the wood duck being very, very famous for that, nesting up in tree cavities and up in there. But the other major kind of duck are the diving ducks. And these ducks are characterized by their ability to dive deep down into lakes and bodies of water and catch fish. Some of them catch and they eat aquatic snails, aquatic mollusks, clams, and things like that. And also, some of them pull up vegetation and to get the tubers of the plants that are at the bottom of the water, and pull those up and eat those. So there are a great wide variety of them. Now, these are ruddy ducks, These are known as stiff-tailed ducks. If you can see it in the picture there of that male, he has his tail sticking up in the air, and he's a real colorful one in the center, and the females around him. And when we see ruddy duck, we usually see them in large flocks or flats, if you will, out on open lakes, and they dive a lot. So you'll be looking and you go, wait a minute, where'd they go? They're right there. I just saw them. And they pop back up, but they do dive down, and they're characterized, whereas that mallard had his legs in the center of his body. Diving ducks' legs tend to be further back on their bodies, toward the back of their body, so that when they dive, they have that the ability to propel down in the water. Their feet, with their famously webbed feet, can kick, and they can dive deeper into the water. And other members of waterfowl, especially like loons, are known for the ability to dive very, very deep, and their legs are even further back on their body, almost at the rear. And the term duck out of water comes from the diving group. Another example are the Goldeneye. This is a common Goldeneye up top, and a Barrow's Goldeneye for you people in the western U.S. At the bottom, and their legs are very far back. So when they lay their eggs, either they have to flutter up onto land or scoot up onto wet vegetation to lay their eggs and attend their nest. So they usually nest very close to water. Now there are some exceptions, but for the most part, they can't walk like those mallards and gadwall and those other puddle ducks, or dabblers as we call them, around on land. Diving ducks, because of their adaptation to be able to address their feeding style by diving deep in the water, they are they're not able to walk around on land. So another couple of examples of diving ducks are the canvasback at the top and the redheads below. They look a lot alike. The ski slope bill of the canvasback and the redhead duck, which has the redhead, but not that type of bill. Interesting about the redhead ducks, the redhead ducks will often lay their eggs into canvasback's nest. The redheads are actually brood parasites. They actually dump their eggs in other birds' nests, and they've even been known to dump them in a northern harrier's nest, which is a hawk. So kind of, the duck family is just so widely varied, and then more illustrated than we get into the sea ducks and the different specialty ducks. The common eider on the bottom, which is the largest duck in North America, and I think in the northern hemisphere, they're large, and if you own a down feather coat, that's where the feathers come from, are from mostly the common eiders. They have farms in which they harvest the feathers from them, and they don't kill the duck to get them. They literally, the ducks pull the feathers out of their breast to line their nest, and then and harvesting, they harvest those down feathers, and they keep nesting, so they don't have to kill them to get those really warm down feathers. But that's a deep diving oceanic duck. They spend most of their time along coastal areas and coastal estuaries. Up in the upper right is a Scoter. This is a white-winged Scoter female, and they're a deep diving, mostly oceanic duck. And on the upper left is a Merganser. Notice how that long, thin bill on that hooded Merganser there in the picture. And it's also serrated, so it can hold on to slippery fish. They dive and mainly catch fish and aquatic insects and things like that. So just a wide variety of birds, but all of these are divers. Where those ones we talked about earlier, the mallards and the gadwall, and like I said, there's a ton of them. I said northern shoveler, northern pintail. There's lots of different of the dabbling ducks. So you got dabblers and you've got divers. So I thought that was a good idea for a program, so you can separate those out. And if you want to learn more about ducks as a whole, you can delve into the different kinds of ducks. We mentioned stiff-tailed ducks, we did wood ducks, which are tree ducks. There's lots of different ducks in the duck world, but the two major groups, dabblers and divers. Great idea for a program. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, give us a share, send in ideas for future programs. Until next time, let's talk birds.